Academy FM Folkestone
on 105.9 FM
and online at academyfmfolkstone.com.
Over the past few days, a group of around 30 young people from Shepway and the French town of Boulonge have been taking part in a new project called the Sailing Voyage. It's brilliant. They have been sailing along the English Channel, starting all the way over from Portsmouth and ending up in Boulonge in France for the annual Festival of the Sea. And that's a massive festival over in France. The project is designed to increase the interaction between young people from England and young people from France and get them to work together and teach them the basics of sailing. In April, I went along to one of the sailing training days held in Boulonge, and this is what happened. Hi, this is Tasha. We're stood outside the Civic Centre at 7 a.m. on a Saturday morning. We're waiting for the coach to take us over to the Channel Tunnel. We're going over to France for the day. Oh, exciting! As we sat in the bus waiting to go through the Channel Tunnel, I spoke to Tamasin Jarrett from Shepway District Council, who told me how the project started.
My colleague, Lynn Docker, she's the Bosco manager, and Bosco is a Boulogne-Shepway partnership between Boulogne-sur-Mer Council and Shepway District Council, and they work together to work on cross-channel projects. And Lynn came to me very excitedly with a project that the Bosco board had presented, and basically that was to send 30 young people on a sailing trip for 7 days in 3 Challenger yachts from the 8th of July to the 15th of July, leaving from Portsmouth, sailing down hopefully to the Channel Islands should the weather permit, and then back to Boulonge ready for the Festival of the Sea celebrations on the 14th of July.
Brilliant. So how do you think today will pan out?
Today's an exciting day. We've got 14 young people with us, and we're joining our French friends, another group of young people. There'll be about 25 young people in France, and we're joining them for a workshop where we come together. We're learning sailing preparatory workshop on Boulogne Beach.
When we arrived in Boulonge, we had a quick breakfast of coffee and croissants as the sailing instructors introduced themselves. After an enthusiastic talk, we were taken straight to the boats. Okay, so we're in, a bigger version of Folkestone Harbour. It's quite big. So there are 4 boats, 5, including the one we're on, although ours is slightly different. They're all 25 feet in length, single mast. Sails aren't up yet at the moment because we're currently moving out of the harbour and it's all being powered by engines. Right, okay, so we've just headed out of the harbour. We're about, I'd say, a mile away from kind of land now, and the boats are all sails are all up and they're all learning how to sail. And I'm here on the boats with Emma Jones from the Folkestone Academy. So Emma, feeling a bit seasick.
It is quite rough, isn't it?
Hold on to the rails.
Yes.
Can you tell us the Academy's involvement with this day and the trip to France and learning how to sail?
Yes, we've got 2 students that are on the boats, and then we've got a few students that are reserves that are also with us, and they will be taking part in the Sailing Voyage, which is a 7-day sailing trip, and I'm here to communicate the adventure and not be seasick.
The students spent several hours on the water and learned the basics of how to sail a yacht. Each boat was crewed with a mixture of English and French students, as well as the sailing instructors who would be accompanying them on the big trip in July. After the boats returned to the harbour, we met up with Lynn Docker from Bosco, who was instrumental in the project. Lynn helped to translate when we spoke to one of the French organisers. Is the interest of young people and sailing very big in Boulonge?
On est une ville qui s'appelle Boulogne-sur-Mer.
Well, indeed, Boulonge is actually called Boulonge on the Sea, and many of our youth don't realise the importance of the sea and the sailing, and indeed maritime activities associated with it. So one of the key points of this project will be to link our youth back to their maritime heritage.
Is this part of a bigger strategy involving connecting young people in Boulogne and the sea?
Je suis pas sûr que ce projet soit vraiment pour amener les jeunes vers la mer.
The maritime links it's not part of an overall strategy. What's important with this project, which is using sailing as its element, is to link to the French and the English young people in order to create, hopefully, a desire to learn each other's language, to learn more about each other's culture, to open up their mindset and to create certain life skills that will be useful at a later date.
I then asked Lynn Docker about the working relationship between the towns of Folkestone and Boulonge, which many people are unaware of.
There is a multitude of links. We have worked very well together on a multitude of projects involving sport, tourism. Since 2003, with the inception of Bosco, the local authorities have constantly worked together to access European funding and unite their populations at every level. Tourism, economy, job creation, youth.
Putting on a project like the Sailing Voyage is not simple and not cheap. Tamasin Jarrett explained where the funding comes from.
Well, the project in total is costing around £32,000, English pounds, and that cost is split between Shepway and Boulogne. The Boulogne side are very fortunate that they have the budgets within their council to be able to fund the project on their side. But at Shepway we have to take a different approach, and the project is being broken down. So while we have some budget available from Shepway District Council, we have also received contributions from each of the 6 secondary schools across the district. The young people, each of the 15 young people that are involved in the project are being asked to raise £100 towards their journey, so in the form of sponsorship. So they're working with their schools to fundraise through cake sales and dress down days, etc., to secure that money. And the Youth Opportunities Fund through KCC, the young people on this project have actually written a funding bid for equipment and activities for the project. In addition to this, we have been very fortunate in that Eurotunnel have been a sponsor of the project, and so far they have secured our crossings between Shepway and Boulogne.
If this is successful, will it happen again next year?
We are very much hoping that this pilot is something that we can continue for future years, but it is very much dependent on the external funding. Unfortunately, it's not something that we can finance from Shepway District Council budget, so we will be looking externally for funding for the project for future years.
In the afternoon, the students worked inside on an art project, and I asked some of them what they thought of Le Sailing Voyage. How have you found the experience today?
Everything's been really good, and you get the chance to interact with other people as well.
Can you describe what you've done today and what you got out of it?
We did some sailing, and I learned so much about that. And we were working with other French students, so I got to learn a little bit of French too.
Do the English students get on with the French students?
Yeah, there are no problems with anybody. Everyone just seems to like each other.
Are you looking forward to the big trip in the summer?
Of course.
What have you been asked to do today, and are you enjoying it?
Well, this afternoon we've been asked to create a painting on the relationship between France and England, including the Sailing Voyage project in it as well.
Can you tell us about your painting?
On each side we have the 2 cliffs, so one cliff has the French flag and the other cliff has the English flag, and in the middle we have a boat sailing on the sea, so it's like the ship is joining the 2 countries.
Have you ever done anything like this before?
T'as jamais fait quelque chose comme ça avant?
J'ai jamais été sur un bateau avant. J'ai plutôt été sur la terre, tout ça, j'ai fait plein de choses sur la terre.
I've been to England before, but I've never been on a boat before, been starting to work as part of a team before, which is interesting.
What have you learnt from today?
Et qu'est-ce que tu as appris du projet jusqu'ici?
C'était intéressant qu'on se retrouve avec des gens
It's been very interesting because being with the English like that in close contact, you find that they're the same as us in fact, so it's getting more interesting getting to know them and finding that there's not so much difference as we thought.
Lynn Docker there from Bosco, ending that piece recorded on the Le Sailing Voyage training day in April. Going to be talking to Tamasin Jarrett from Shepway District Council, who's in that actually a little bit later on, probably just after 11 o'clock.
105.9 Academy FM.
The sound of Folkestone.
Good morning. Now, a little bit earlier on, I played a feature out to do with this Sailing Voyage, and now Tamasin Jarrett is on the phone with me from Shepway District Council. Hi.
Good morning from the sunny Boulonge Sea Festival.
Brilliant. Morning. Is it sunny? It is sunny over there, so it's nice weather.
Yes, it's very sunny. It started off grey and a little bit overcast, but I think the sun's melted away the sea mist.
Brilliant. This is not so sunny over here. It's a little bit grey, but so you're getting all of the sunshine.
I think so. Yep, it's certainly blue skies here.
But you're not on a boat at the moment, so there's no risk of seasick during the interview, is there?
No, none of that, thank goodness.
Okay, for any listeners that didn't hear the feature earlier on, can you tell us about the Sailing Voyage?
Yes, certainly. Okay, well, the Sailing Voyage is a project that came together from the Bosco board, which is the Boulonge Shepway Partnership. Basically, there was a great desire for the French and English to work together on sending some young people out on a sailing voyage to aid their development with their confidence, self-esteem, etc. So in January we started working on this project, and through the 6 secondary schools of Shepway we went through an application process, and 15 young people were chosen from Shepway schools aged between 14 and 15, and on the French side they did the same. So we've got 30 young people on the voyage. And they set off on Monday the 8th of July on a 7-day voyage from Portsmouth, and they're out at sea at the moment as we speak, and they'll be sailing in to Boulogne tomorrow for the Sea Festival festivities, where they'll be greeted by the French, and we'll be able to hear all about their journey and and what's been happening.
Brilliant. And has it all gone to plan so far?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've had lots of updates on Facebook, and they've been doing a daily blog that can be read on the internet at www.tallships.org. You can log on there and see the blogs that they've been logging every day.
Wow, definitely check those out.
Very well, yes.
What's been the feedback of the young people involved themselves? Like, are they enjoying it?
Well, they are. The one problem that they have experienced, apparently out of all 30 young people, just 3 of them haven't suffered with seasickness.
Oh.
So seasickness has been the big thing, apparently.
Oh, gosh. Because I know when we were on the boats, we were struggling with it a little bit.
Yeah, bless them. I just think, by all accounts, despite the seasickness, they've had lots of fun. And I was speaking to one of the support workers from Kent County Council, who's actually on the voyage with them, and he was saying that it's just been absolutely wonderful to see them, pull together, great bonding, and they're working together, they're understanding and supporting each other, and even when they're poorly, they're not wanting to let each other down, so they're really pulling together, which is, what it's all about. It's about great teamwork and support, so there's a lot of sharing and caring going on the boats.
Any dramas, though? Any dramas on board the boats? Like anyone falling overboard? Any tantrums?
Not that I'm aware of, no. I think the big drama has been the seasickness, and I think Martin had to terminate the call with me yesterday because he had to go and grab a bucket, so I think that's the biggest drama that...
If it was going to be anyone, it had to be him.
Sorry?
If it was going to be anyone, it had to be him.
Yes, that's right. So, I think they're all digging in, and they're doing extremely well, and I think they're all having a lot of fun and enjoying it, but I'm not a sailor myself, so I'm not really familiar with all the terms, but apparently they've been on the spinnaker, and they've had to sort of develop their balance over the side of the boat.
Oh.
And they've been, they've jumped off the boat and they've been swimming in the water, although it's been a bit cold, I understand.
Wow. Can you tell us about the Boulonge Festival of the Sea?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm here right now in Boulogne, and you might be able to hear a traditional kind of French accordion in the background. The weather's good, and there's about 3 kilometres worth of stages and stalls, and there's lots and lots of activity. So we've got stalls selling lots of kind of traditional French items. There's rope work demonstrations, there's wood carving, there's lots of lovely traditional music on the stages and singing and activities, and there's a real lovely buzz, and it's really good fun.
Brilliant. And any news on funding that might allow the project to be repeated next year or in the future?
Well, we've been very fortunate that this year the project, it is a great project, and we've been very fortunate that we've attracted funding from the Roger de Haan Charitable Trust, Eurotunnel and Kent County Council's Youth Opportunity Fund. So we've been very, very fortunate this year that the project's been supported by those external funds. But for next year, we'll have to just wait and see, really.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, we haven't got anything secured as yet, so we'll have to see whether people want to repeat it, and whether we can attract the funding to make it continue.
Well, it sounds like a lot of fun. I hope they're all enjoying themselves.
They are. They're having a great time, and I think it's important to realise, although there's a lot of fun, these young people are benefiting greatly in terms of development. I think, even though they're with 15 French young people, the language barriers haven't really existed. They've all been communicating and getting on well. So for confidence and team building and self-esteem and lifelong skills, I think they've benefited enormously.
Brilliant. Thank you, Tamasin.
You're welcome.
Have a good weekend.
Yes, lovely. Thanks. I'm very much looking forward to tomorrow when they sail into harbour. It's going to be great to see them.